What is the fastest gravel bike you could make? That is Orbea's. It certainly looks blooming fast. What a weapon!
It's called the Terra Race, and it follows hot on the heels of another new gravel bike from Orbea, the Terra, that was released just a few days ago.
So, Orbea have now gone from one gravel bike in their range to two. And I am here for it. I will explain why a little bit later on. First though, what is this one all about? Lightweight, top-of-the-line OMX carbon fibre frame coming in at 910 grams. Aero touches like the super sleek one-piece carbon cockpit. Vibration damping has not been forgotten though. In fact, the rear end of the bike has been designed specifically for that. But Orbea say race-winning stiffness is the name of the game here. Oh, and if you like carrying gubbins, this is not your bike. There is no onboard storage. It's too slow and adds weight. There are no mounting points on the forks. There are no rack mounts, nor even fender mounts. This is a bike with a purpose. Race by name, race by nature. Can we just take a moment though? I genuinely think this bike is so beautiful. I'm going to do something that it really wasn't designed to do, which is to stop in the woods, pour myself a coffee, and admire the view. That is stunning. I think one of the reasons this bike looks so fast, aside from the super sleek cockpit and the drop seat stays, is that the position on it is super aggressive. So when Orbea sent us the bike, the stem was already slammed, and it is low, so the stack on it, which is how high the handlebars are relative to the bottom bracket, is actually the same on my size large as it is on the legendary Orbea Orca road bike. So that's a bike that's raced in the Tour de France and the Spring Classics.
For some gravel riders, it might prove too low, although for them, there is another option that we'll talk about later. Two more options, in fact. But for a performance-oriented rider or a racer, the ability to get your gravel bike position the same as your road bike position is absolutely invaluable. Nothing makes you feel less speedy than having your handlebars higher than you want them. If you know, you know. So, this is, frankly, a real statement of intent. Fast, 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 fast.
So it's got a really aggressive position. What else? Well, we'll come back to the geometry later on. The frame is made up of Orbea's most advanced carbon layup. It gets the OMX tag. So it uses a higher percentage of high modulus fibres from laser cut sections to reduce weight and maximise stiffness. In all, Orbea said it shed 300 grams from its predecessor and comes in at 910 grams for the frame for a size medium with paint.
Stiffness is a fairly finely nuanced thing on gravel bikes, so we know that compliance can increase speed. Smoother is faster. And to this, Orbea have said they've designed the rear triangle of this bike in such a way as to increase its ability to absorb vibration while still maintaining stiffness under power.
Also of huge significance is that despite the appearances of the seat tube, the seat post is actually a slim round affair, and that combined with the gently sloping top tube adds in a ton of additional compliance. Now, what's also really interesting is that the different size bikes get different carbon layups. Orbea are calling it size-tuned stiffness, and it effectively means that smaller, lighter riders and bigger, heavier riders will get the same riding characteristics. So smaller frames can be made lighter and more compliant for the same mass of rider, whereas bigger frames can get added reinforcement.
Orbea haven't made any claims about aerodynamics, but they have clearly taken elements they've learnt from their Orca Aero road bike and their Ooyy TT bike. So the super clean front end and those aero shapes at the rear end.
I mentioned at the beginning that this is not a bike with which to carry stuff. Now, of course, you could absolutely put bike packing bags on here. In fact, Orbea very kindly already put frame-saving tape on the head tube to stop a handlebar bag from rubbing away at it. But the point is that all extraneous mounting bosses have been stripped right back, short of your bottle cages and top tube mounts here. And there is, as I said, no frame storage either, because it adds weight and it's also just a little bit slower. So in a race situation, it'll take longer to get stuff out of frame storage than it would out of other storage locations. If you've never taken a trip over to Orbea's website, I suggest you do. As well as different models of bikes, of course, they also allow you to configure elements of each bike, like the cockpit, saddles, wheels, crank length, etc., as well as paint. Now, I mention it in this context because if the low front end puts you off, there is a cockpit option with 15mm of rise in the bar. The spec on this top-of-the-range model is absolutely incredible. It's got full SRAM Red Explore Groupset, so of course it means that the frame is UDH compatible. We've also got a power meter option, and of note, this is the first size large bike that I have ever been sent that comes with 170mm cranks as opposed to the more typical 172.5. Yeah, there you go. Now, I want to draw your attention as well to this super sleek cockpit up here. It's a thing of beauty, quite frankly. Also got these really nice textured sections on the tops. Slightly less elegant is the name, which is the OCSHRA10 Aero. Orbea's sister brand Ooyy provide the wheels. These are the brand new RP50 Limiteds, which have a 50mm deep rim, 25mm wide internally, with a mini hook design. Certainly pairs up nicely with these 40mm wide tyres on here. Carbon spokes, and can I just draw your attention to these hubs, which are stunning. So these are designed and made in the Basque Country by Ooyy, and they're very lovely indeed. Very lovely indeed. I'm such a nerd, I'm sorry.
Well, this video is about the launch of the Orbea Terra Race. Comparisons, I think, will inevitably be drawn with the Orbea Terra that was launched just a few days ago. And rightly so. I mean, if you go from having one gravel bike in your range to two, it begs the question, well, what's the difference? I mean, if you're going to buy a new bike, you want to make sure you're getting the right one. And so in this case, it seems to make it more complex, right? Going from one bike to two. But the gravel spectrum is so big that it makes sense to have a bike for racy gravelers and then a separate bike for more adventurous / rowdy gravelers as well. Although, that's not to be said, the Terra is no slouch either, because it isn't.
It has onboard storage, tyre clearance for 50mm tyres as opposed to 45. It prioritises compliance versus prioritising speed. And it too has a lighter frame than its predecessor, but it's still over 100 grams heavier than this one. It has Orbea's OMR level frame and not the top-of-the-range OMX carbon layup that we have here. And the geometry, well, this one is 30mm lower than the Terra. Also, the chainstays are 10mm shorter on this one. That keeps the back end feeling slightly more agile, maybe. It helps the bike turn a little bit quicker. You do sacrifice an element of confidence on super fast, super chunky sections, but it's not anything that would bother an experienced rider, and particularly not a racer. The bottom bracket on this one is also 4mm higher. Oh yeah, but it keeps the bike feeling, again, the same as the Orca road bike. It helps it change direction that little bit faster. It is hard to explain the difference in the way these bikes feel to ride, because it is quite subtle. The main thing is your body position on them and the way that makes you feel. I would certainly be happy, delighted, in fact, to ride either bike anywhere. I suspect by now you'll know which bike you more closely associate with. But if you still need one final analogy, let me hit you with this one. If the Terra Race was a car, it would be a top flight rally car. So it's super fast, super robust, super durable. And the Terra would be like a Land Rover Defender, very civilized, but can go anywhere, and also would be very fast in the right hands. Right, I'd be very interested to read your comments on this bike. Let us know down below what you think about it. Remember as well to hit that like button if you, like me, think that this is an absolute weapon. Lastly, make sure you subscribe to GCN Tech before you go. Hit the bell icon because we have a lot of hot tech on this channel for you.